That Note with Parker Whirling.
Zach Butler joining me
That's
on
me.
On That Note, round 2.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for coming up, man. All the way from Macon, Georgia. You drove up. You said it was like only an hour, which is nice.
An hour 15. Yeah, not
Hour
too bad.
15. Pretty chill here
Yeah.
on a Sunday morning. Excited to have you on the pod. Talk about your new album, All Shall Be Well. And also another album that you picked out from my collection here, which is Ram by
Ram.
Paul McCartney.
Some would say the first indie rock album.
That's right. Yeah, I feel like that's the headline on every
Yeah.
IndieWire, Pigs and
Yeah.
Plains type, you know.
It's so cool, though.
So what made you pick this one?
Well, really Heart of the Country, just like the one song. I've listened to the whole
I love
thing
that
a few
song,
times,
dude.
but that one's the standout for me. And
That bass line is one of the craziest
Yeah.
bass lines, dude. I learned how to play that a long time ago.
Oh, it's so fun. And I was thinking about my record that just came out, and like, I don't know, a little bit of this vibe. Not as I feel like he gets a little chaotic sometimes on this record, but
Totally.
I don't know, it's just
No Monkberry Moon Delights on
No.
yours.
nothing
Thank
quite
God.
like that. Maybe
Honestly, that's, I got to skip that one. I'm sorry. Some people love
yeah,
it.
I agree. There's some skippable. Yeah.
I think
But
I
it's
would like
fun.
it more if it wasn't the longest song on the album. And it's clearly like the weirdest, like I can't do that weird voice he's doing. But I love pretty much every song besides that one. I think there's not one on there that I don't like.
I mean, yeah, Uncle Albert.
Mm-hmm. Classic.
Yeah.
Ram On is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
Is
so
that a
cool.
ukulele too that he starts with?
Yes. Yeah.
Such an interesting
Ukulele.
choice. The only song I can think of that I like a ukulele on.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to be a big 21 Pilots fan.
Oh,
So
whoa.
I did like the ukulele.
Okay, yeah. Is that still in the rotation?
Nah,
Not really.
Yeah, that was, I don't know, middle school, early high school.
Yeah, that
And
sounds
then
about right.
now- yeah. I'm not as big of a fan as anymore, but
Yeah, that's
they're
okay.
cool, though.
Some things still, every once in a while you find a band in middle school or high school that does stick with you. But I would say 90% of them you kind of shed and don't really come back to anymore unless it's for pure nostalgia.
yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any that have stuck with you over the years since that time period?
I don't know. I used to be a huge Mayer fan, John Mayer, and I think that's kind
Of course. I feel like every white guy that
yeah.
learned to play
Wants
guitar
to-
went
yeah.
through a Mayer phase.
Correct. And that's kind of what started the guitar thing. And that's kind of stuck with me. But I don't know, lately I've kind of drifted away from that. I don't really listen to a lot of those records anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The past few years, my tastes has changed like a ton. And I've become a lot more like exploratory with music, which is really fun. More than I used to be. I feel like I used to listen to just beat the hell out of the same old records all the time. So
Yeah.
it's been fun to like, I don't know, every time I'm driving somewhere, I'm like really don't want to hear something I've heard before. And I'm just
Okay.
like, I just want to hear something new, which is a good time.
How do you find these new records?
Dude, Spotify radio is actually pretty good. Or just like,
Do you do the DJ?
I do not
Spotify
do the DJ. I can't.
It's so crazy,
yeah,
man.
no.
Have you ever tried it?
I tried it maybe like the first like week it came out. and I was
Right.
like, this isn't my thing.
You're like, what's up, Zach?
Yeah.
I got a new record
Yeah.
for you. You're like, I don't know, this feels a little uncanny.
I want to pick my own
Yeah,
at
have
least
some control.
vibe. Yeah, I have no control with the DJ. But then like fans also like
Totally.
or like have you heard of Western AF and they do the live AF sessions?
No.
Really cool. And like so stuff like that where it's like a recurring musical segment or something
Mm-hmm.
and they always have guests. Really recommend that one if you like country western kind of thing.
Okay. Western AF.
Yeah. Red Clay Strays are on there. That was the first one I heard where I was like, oh, this is like really cool.
Okay. Is it like a radio thing?
I don't
or
really
just
know.
Every week
I don't know much about it. They make YouTube videos and like just like
Okay.
music videos, and then they release those sessions. It's kind of like our vinyl or one of those things. I can't think of any others right now. Like Audio Tree,
Oh, okay.
where they kind of have a live session and they release it as a record as well.
I see.
They do video.
Nice.
Cool stuff out on there. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, hey, congratulations on your new album. All Shall Be Well. Came out 2 days ago, right?
Yes, it did.
Very fresh.
Yeah. And then last night we had an album release show in Macon.
Oh, cool. How
Grant's
did it go?
Lounge. It went really well. That's like a historic venue, and I've always wanted to play there. So it was cool. I don't know, like, yeah.
Did you play the whole record front to back?
Nah, almost. We only song we didn't play is called "No Good at Climbing."
Mm-hmm.
And it's got kind of this, I don't know, maybe a little more experimental. I just felt like it wasn't going to translate super well live. There's like this really long back section where I kind of sing the same thing like 20 times in a row, and I was like, this isn't going to work in a live setting. But everything else we played a couple old songs, played a cover, Dixie Chicken by Little Feat, if you're familiar.
I know the band Little Feat, but I've never really listened to them.
Big Little Feat fan.
Okay.
Yeah, all that 70s rock stuff, 70s like folk rock is kind of my favorite stuff.
Nice. And what's your live setup usually?
It varies so much. And also, like, I haven't had a consistent band in years. It's now like a revolving door, just whoever's available. Last night we had a 5-piece, which is like what I would prefer. But as you know, like, I'm trying to get everybody paid when we play as best I can. So can't always afford that. So we do a trio a lot, just drums, bass, guitar. But last night was kind of special. So
yeah, of course.
We had at Grants they have a real Hammond and like a Leslie set up. Whoa. So we had someone playing the organ, and he also had a keyboard too. And then we had me on guitar, another guitar player, bass and drums. It was a good night. Yeah.
That's great.
We had like a local band open up that are also really good called Sweet Diesel. It was a good night.
Sweet Diesel.
Sweet Diesel.
I like that name.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you got your band when you're playing live, but when it comes to album mode, you're recording and producing everything yourself. Yeah. Aside from a couple instruments here and there, you have some musicians coming in. And I really feel like listening to it, it feels like I am a fly on the wall of your studio watching you like record these songs, because there's something about it to me that feels like it's all coming from the same room, and I can imagine everything happening in that same room. Was there ever a moment where you sought to make it sound like that, or is that just kind of how it happened?
It just kind of happened like that. I had no real clue what I was doing. I mean, the biggest reason I made this album this way was like just financial constraint, and just like I was just like, I want to make a record so bad. I mean, I just love making songs, and the last few times I've done it, I've paid for studio time, or I've, whatever, always paying for stuff. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, I had a guy who was charging me like $400 a song to mix my songs, and I was like, can I just learn this stuff? Like,
just to mix it?
Yeah.
Oof.
Mix and master. So
okay.
both. But like stuff like that, and I was like, I just can't afford this, and I just want to make stuff. And one, I was like, how much do I even care about like this really polished quality? And two, like, can I just learn how to do this myself? Like, I think it's feasible. I've taught myself everything I know about music from the internet. Right. And I was like, and that money I can invest into the studio equipment, which I can just keep making stuff. So yeah, I bought some drums, taught myself how to play drums over the course of a couple of years. I play drums on all but one track, which is my friend Cody Stafford, who lives here in Atlanta. Just because like we played it in a rehearsal, and I was like, that's the guy for this song. I can't do that. Like he just had that thing for that one.
Which song was it?
That's July.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like me home alone for most of it. Just figuring it out. And I want to do less of that. It's pretty isolating, and making music with other people is like really fun. And people have so many working collaboratively. People just have ideas you wouldn't have. And yeah, I want more of that. So now that I've made more connections in town in Macon, like hopefully we can do a little more of like, joint sessions and like bringing other people in. But it was a fun experiment to be like, what if I play all the instruments, and what if I mix it and master it myself? Like, will it work?
Ram style.
Yeah, that's kind of why I picked that too. because it's just him and like
in spirit,
him and
it's very
Linda
similar.
in the like cabin or whatever, they're on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just like making the best thing you can with what you have is really cool. And it's easy to get caught up in like, oh well, I don't have this really nice preamp or this really nice microphone, so I shouldn't record vocals. All the vocals are recorded on an AT2020, which is a $100 microphone going into like an SSL 12 interface, which is like not super nice. Like it's not crazy, you know. I just was like, we'll do it with what we got.
And like, I think about that Bon Iver album.
Yeah, that was. I was thinking about that too.
So everything ever recorded on that album is from one microphone, I think.
Yeah, that's how the story goes.
Yeah,
sometimes I'm like, I don't know if that's true.
I know,
but
either way, I feel like the sentiment holds up.
Yeah, the like ethos of that. Just like make stuff. It's so easy as a creative to get caught up in like, I don't have the best gear, I don't have the best opportunities, but like if you have a 2-channel interface and a like way to record it, like you can make stuff.
That's all you
know?
need.
Yeah.
My friend told me a long time ago, shout out Dylan Bear. I don't know if he's ever listening to this, but he showed me some video about this guy basically explaining how, I don't know if it was like a TED Talk or something like that, but it felt like it, saying like taste is all you really need at the end of the day. Taste will carry you the furthest distance. Like you can have maybe one microphone and a shitty guitar or whatever, but your taste will always shine through despite the quality of the recording. You can't fake good songwriting.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, if you know your limitations, you can push yourself to the point of that. Like, I'm not a great lead guitarist personally. But sometimes the lead guitar I can do can be very simple, and that alone is can translate really well. Or you hear about bands who, when they record something, they did a song where, I don't know, the bass was played by the drummer or something like that. Like they switched instruments for the sake of keeping things kind of simple and not overthinking it.
Yeah, absolutely. Simple is better a lot of times. Which
Totally.
I'm still learning for sure.
Totally. Did you have a process for recording when you were self-producing this? Because I can imagine wearing that many hats can get a little chaotic. Did you have a strict process, or was it kind of just feeling it out?
It was pretty strict. So I had everything written first, which writing, I mean, I've been just writing songs all the time. I probably had like a list of 50-ish, maybe a little less. And I was like, okay, I think I have something here. So like organizing the track list took me a while, just like a lot of thinking on that. And then it was make a guide track to a click. And then I did it, I didn't do it a song at a time. I did it like sections at a time. So every song, I spent like a whole day doing all of them to click track so I could record drums. And then like the next long while I spent just doing drums. Mm-hmm. And it took me a long time to track drums because I just had never done that. And I was like, I'm not really a drummer. I'm just kind of faking it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's the beauty of not going to a studio is I have as much time as I want. I can just keep trying.
Right.
So I did, I mean, who knows, maybe a few weeks just doing drums. And then we did bass and then added in things. So it was like I would do an instrument. I would pick that instrument and do it for like a week on every song. Which is like, it's interesting to be like switching back and forth between songs instead of like giving one like a bunch of time. Yeah. I wonder if it would have been different if I was like, okay, just doing a little love for this week and we're going to finish it from like start to finish, but it wasn't like that. And then there was some other guys who played on it. Ethan Hamlin, mainly, he's a keys player in Macon. He's great. I mean, so talented. And keys is probably my weakest instrument. And I was like, yeah. So he played on all but like, I think one song, but it was all remote too. So when it was like time for keys, I was like, okay, send all the tracks to Ethan and wait for it to get him back.
Whoa.
And then do something else. Cause I wasn't going to I didn't want to put any pieces down until I had something. like I didn't want to record something while I was waiting on keys to come back, and then maybe it clashes. So
Right.
So it kind of took forever. I took my time with making this, which I think is cool. But I hadn't released a real album since like 2020 or 2021. I mean, I did like a live record, and I just wanted to make something that was like, I don't know. The first one we did was really rushed. I don't know if we talked about that story, but we made a record at Capricorn Studio in Macon, which was like crowdfunded. It was awesome. But I got like way too ambitious and tried to record 10 songs in a week in that studio. And we had like 8-hour days every day. And everything was just so rushed. And then I was like so green, didn't know anything about music or how it worked. And I remember the engineer at the studio was like, "Who are you going to have to mix this?" And I was like, "I thought that was your job. Like, I thought you mixed this."
Yeah,
And
what
he
do you
was
mean? You're at the board.
He was like, "No, I'm just like tracking engineer." And I was like, "Oh, shoot. Well, I don't have any more money. So you think you could..." I was like, "Can we cut our last day off and just mix all of them in one day?" And he was like, "I guess." So that's what we did. So it was just like incredibly rushed. I remember I felt like I spent a lot of money. And then when I got the thing back, I was like, dang, I wish that we spent more time on it. So it was like,
So you gave yourself the opposite this time.
Heavy emphasis on like as much time as it takes to get it right. Like we'll just do it over and over because like there's no timeline. I have no deadline.
Yeah.
So
Is there anything about this album that might be like that, like the time thing for the next one? You know what I mean? Like a lesson you learned around making this album that for the next one you want to explore?
Yeah, I don't know. One thing is I want to work with people more. It was cool to do my own like isolated thing, but I want more collaboration this time and be more of like a group project. 'Cause like I will go crazy in the studio tracking the same drum part for hours by myself, and I'm just like,
no one to give you any feedback.
Yeah, I'm going insane, and I'm like, this would be more fun with other folks. So that's definitely something I want to try. And then, yeah, I don't know. I think it just takes a long time, which I underestimated when I started doing music and I wanted to make stuff. It takes way longer than you think it does, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it took me like a year of recording and mixing it and mastering it, mostly because I was also learning how to do those things at the same time. Like, it took twice as long. So the next one probably will be faster.
And you learned how to master, for this, right?
As well as I could. YouTube tutorials. I kind of know what I'm doing.
What did you learn from that? Because that's something I really don't know anything about.
Yeah. Mastering is just, it's obviously really subtle.
But it can make a huge difference.
I feel like a big thing is my ear got so much better during this process of like hearing the frequency spectrum and hearing like small changes and being able to actually like tell what's happening. There's this big thing. There's this, what is it? Capital Studios mastering compressor that I use. That's from, it's from Universal Audio, but it's like an analog emulation.
Okay.
And there's mid-side compression. And I don't really know that much about it, but I know that when I put that on, like the mix got so much wider. And this was like, I was doing that in the mastering phase as well. And I was just like, I was just learning so much about compression and EQ and just all the things. I don't know. I feel a lot more knowledgeable. And also I remember starting in music and I'd talk to other people and they would talk about these things, like play with like a singer and they're like, "Hey, can I get more like 2K in my ears?" And I was like, this guy,
you're like, he's
what
just
the
making
hell?
some
He's
shit
just
up.
being a jerk. And now I'm like, oh, you can actually tell what that is. Like,
yeah.
I almost thought everyone was just BSing. Like, I was like, that's not real. Like, you can't hear that. But yeah,
there you go. Now you're on the other side of that.
Something like that. It's like a little bit of both,
Right.
It's like mixing and mastering. Mixing is like the most important thing, and also doesn't matter at all. Who cares? Some of the best songs, the old stuff, it sounds like sounds terrible, but like song is the most important thing.
Sometimes even the performance isn't the most important part. You listen to some old Beatles songs and you're like, they're not even really that in sync.
There's so many mistakes on Beatles records.
Yeah, like
it's
Rubber Soul, like there's a handful of songs that they're like not coming in at the same time, and it doesn't matter.
And that, going off that, that's a big lesson I learned is like the signal chain of like what's important, which might seem really obvious, but it's like one is the song, like in order of importance, and then it's the player, and then it's the quality of the instrument they're playing, and then it's the microphone, and then it's the preamp, and it's like in order. I feel like in order that it goes into your computer or your tape. Like I feel like that's what's important, and it gets marginally less important.
Yeah.
Or what's it called? Diminishing returns. Like
Right.
Yeah, like I'd rather take the best drummer on a really nice kit than like an okay drummer with like really nice mics and preamps. Like
that's so
just
true.
Like, you know, and some of this stuff we get, like audio people, we get so caught up in it, and like then I show my friends or my wife, and they're like, "Sounds great," and I'm like, "You don't hear that like weird muddy thing around like 400 hertz?" And what are you talking about?
Right.
This sounds cool. Like,
yeah.
So
That's
a big thing. Is like, I don't know, not to say who cares, but like just like getting stuff out there and being like, okay, done is better than perfect, right? That was a big like thing with this album, and there are mistakes in it, and there's some things that I think are cool. Like you can hear a lot of the room. The room I was in had really creaky floors, and so sometimes when I was recording stuff with mics, you can hear me moving around and like some creaks and stuff. And
oh, whoa.
I was like, but this feels like this is the space that it was recorded in, and like this was the room, and you're getting like an image of, like you said, like me in the room making it, which was just really important to me. I was like, I feel like I'm capturing a moment in my life, like making this art that I might, not get again. I won't get again in that way. And the studio I'm in now, where I live in Macon, is not where most of this happened. It happened here in Atlanta, in like an apartment, and I had neighbors underneath me. It was a triplex, I guess, because there's 3 units.
Oh, okay.
And there was someone underneath us, and so I could only play drums when they weren't home.
Right.
So it was like all this stuff where it's like
Have
making
a camera
compromise
outside their door to make sure when they're
Dude,
leaving.
I would just like stare out the window all day. Like if I had a day off, every like 10 minutes I'd like look out the window to see if their cars were there, and then when they weren't there I was like, okay, sweet, like I'm gonna go until and I could see the window.
Okay.
Drums were set up in the living room, and I could see like the driveway, so I would like face the driveway and play drums, and then if I saw them coming up, like, dang, okay, I guess we're done for
like
today.
cut the take
because like I don't want to be that guy.
No,
Your downstairs neighbor, and you're hearing the kick pedal like all.
Dude, that would be tough.
They would want me to move. So.
Yeah, well, that's very considerate of you. That's so funny. Just
lived with
picturing you
drummers.
like peering out the window from the drum throne, mid song. They get back and you're like, "Fuck."
Yeah, I definitely had to stop mid take before. Like, a few times,
Of course.
I mean, there was times where I was like, "They're gonna take a minute to get inside. I can finish this," but like
That's so funny.
But yeah, that was just the whole thing about this was like just do it no matter what. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, which I think is important. I don't know, everyone gets so caught up in everything being so polished.
Yeah.
Well, it's also genre specific. The stuff I make is not like, I don't know, it doesn't sound like radio ready pop music,
Right.
which is a different thing. So if you're trying to do that, maybe that's really important.
Maybe the order of operations is a little,
When you're making like alternative indie Americana, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, you get some leeway. You can kind of get away with some things.
Yeah.
How do you
Lo-fi's
feel?
cool now.
I think lo-fi is like, it's in, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
I feel like it has been, but I'm always a fan of when people are able to do the best with what they can, and it translates so well because the song itself is so solid, and like you said, that order of operations is taken into account, and people aren't placing preamps over a good song or a good take.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But how do you feel like, since we've last spoken, which was, like you said, maybe 2 years ago, on the pod at least, that you've changed as an artist, or maybe some of the biggest lessons you've learned when it comes to songwriting or production?
Yeah. I feel like my sound has gotten a lot different from then. I was still pretty fresh, and I feel like I was still really unsure about what I wanted to sound like. And I just have so much music that I love, and I was trying to cram it all into one thing, and it was really crowded. And it's still a problem for me, but it's getting better, and I feel like I'm starting to find my lane now, which is cool. And I'm slowing down a lot, which is cool for me. Like, I felt like I was really trying to play stuff that was like fast and loud. I mean, not everything. There's still like some soft acoustic songs that's always been the thing. But I was like, oh, I have to make stuff that's like rockin', big electric guitars, fast drums. Cause I was like, I need the energy, but like, that's not who I am. And I'm just doing a better job of like accepting, like, I like music that's like 80 BPM.
Dude,
and I like
tempo.
it to just like be big and swimmy, and like there's moments where it gets a little rocking. But so like genre wise, I feel like I've changed a lot. I spent like the last 3 years like diving into like 60s and 70s like folk rock and stuff, and that's like all I listened to for the longest time. Just a bunch of like John Denver and Neil Young and just a bunch of stuff. So that's been a big change. The writing process is pretty much the same. I wish I was more disciplined. I've heard about writers who were like, yeah, I do a session and crank out like 5 songs and pick one that's good or something, but
Can't relate.
I kind of only write like when I feel like it still, which thankfully happens often enough.
Yeah.
Maybe I get one like once a week or two, once every week.
It's pretty good.
I think that's pretty good. And most of them are garbage, but hey, that's what it is. You got to get the stuff out.
You get it out,
But I don't spend a lot of time writing, especially now that I'm wearing multiple hats. If I was just the songwriter and someone else was doing all the recording for me, it might be different. But I spend a lot of time thinking about the instrumentation and stuff. The producing is honestly a lot more enjoyable for me. Like,
Yeah.
Once the song is there, like the songwriting feels like hard work sometimes.
Totally.
And then once the song is written, I'm like, now this is like a blank canvas and I can have fun and I can play instruments and like make something cool. And now I spend a lot of time just like making instrumentals that are just whatever, that are never going to see the light of day. Sometimes,
but it's good practice.
It is
for
practice.
The producing side.
It is kind of practice. Maybe one day I'll be like, oh, I did this thing like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I can pull it out.
Yeah, and you can always release like
like
an
a Mac
instrumentals
DeMarco?
album. Yeah, yeah, the Mac DeMarco 200 song. Yeah, what was that called? One Wayne G. Dude.
It's kind of awesome. I was actually like very inspired by that because
Really?
Yeah, he was like, this is my hard drive. Like I'm just dumping it on the internet, and I was like, you can do whatever you want. Like I can just make this album. Like
yeah, dude.
That was actually a big inspiration interestingly enough, for All Shall Be Well.
That's cool. I feel like I remember when that came out and being like, oh, cool, new Mac DeMarco. Like I haven't listened to him very much in a while, and I'm stoked to hear what he's up to. Oh, it's 200 songs. Cool. And most of them are instrumentals. And I was bummed at first. And even though I didn't really listen to it much, the sentiment I think is really cool, because I'm always a huge believer in the artist doing whatever they want and not feeling like captured by their fan base, like they have to do something for their fan base or do something for their label or whatever. And that's what he's doing, and it kind of made me like have to think about that more and be like, yeah, that's not what I want from him, but that's really cool and kind of brave in a way to do that and put out 200 random songs that probably would never see the light of day, and inspire someone like you to maybe do the same, or just to show people that you don't have to follow a certain pattern.
Yeah, there's like 2025, there's no reason to follow a traditional album cycle or any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can if you want to, and that's cool, nothing wrong with that, but like you can just do whatever you want, and art is so accessible to make, and I think that's a good thing.
Totally.
And I mean, there's like the devaluing of music now.
Yeah, it's a
with
trade-off.
streaming, which is bad. Like, no way to put that in a good light, but
Right.
it's pros and cons. I mean,
yeah, I guess it's just what is more valuable to you. And to me, maybe just because I, a songwriter, it's like I'd rather this technology be available to everyone and
Yeah.
people's taste, like we were talking about earlier, like the average person who isn't listening to what frequency is, too hot. They're just listening to songs for whatever sounds good to them, and there'll be some, random person they found on TikTok in Norway that has a great song that they love, whereas maybe 20, 30 years ago or more, they were kind of beholden to whatever the local radio station was playing.
Mm-hmm.
So like people's tastes are getting broader, hopefully. In some ways, maybe they're not because the algorithms and stuff like that. So it's like you get both. It's like if you want to break out of your algorithm, you really can, and discover some cool stuff. But it's also easy to get sucked into whatever, the algorithm lords think that you want.
Yeah. Kind of rule our lives right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man.
So what would be some advice you have for an artist who has never self-produced something, now that you've done an entire album of that, from start to finish? Let's say somebody wants to produce their first song front to back. What would be some advice you would give them?
Yeah. I'd say the biggest thing is like listen to a ridiculous amount of music. I mean, listening has like changed everything. Like I just feel like I wasn't getting a wide breadth of stuff. I was like was crushing the same John Mayer records every day. And I was like, this is cool. But now that I've like really explored, my palette has like opened up a lot and I know what I like. I think that's really important. And like you train your ear by doing that and like listening intently, like, put on a song and be like, I'm just going to listen to the bass this time. I'm just going to listen to the drums this time. What do they sound like the whole time, and like focused listening. And then also it's really important to meet musicians, even if you're going to do it by yourself. Like, I mean, I've been playing in bands for years and like playing with good drummers, playing with good guitar players, and like asking them about what they do, has also taught me a lot. And having people that you can send it to that will be honest is important too. Because I can show these songs to my wife and she will be like, this is great.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
yeah, but I feel like you're going to like anything I do, right? And I have some friends that will like be like, hey man, you need to fix this, right?
Right.
And you got to take that with a grain of salt too, because I feel like your taste as an artist, like you said, is probably most important.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good to have some feedback too. You can get really in your own world and kind of lose perception of what the song sounds like. I feel like that's how I feel sometimes about this thing that just came out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been also I finished recording this like last August.
Oh, okay.
Or something.
Yeah.
And so it's been like a long time. So the songs have been done, and I was just finding a good time to release it. I didn't want to release it around Christmas, and there's some other things going on, but I didn't want a time to like make content or whatever and make some stuff for it. But I just was listening to the songs by myself for so long, and I was like, I think these are cool, but like, who knows? Like, you get so used to stuff. I'm really interested in like what makes you like music. I think about this a lot, and like a big part of it is just familiarity. If you hear a song 5 times, you're gonna like it more. Like, even if it's something you don't like, I've found, I don't know if you ever feel that way. Like, there's some music that I'm like, not my thing, but if I hear it enough, it does get stuck in your head if it's like catchy. It's like, so
some of my favorite albums started out that way, where I'm like, I don't really know if I'm not digging any of this, and then turns out to be, Yankee Hotel Foxtrot by Wilco. Like, oh my God, this is maybe one of the best albums ever made.
That is a good record.
But first first listen, I was like, what is this? And Jesus, etc. was the only one I liked. Classic.
That's a good song.
And then eventually, one by one, the songs kind of came into place. I'm like, oh wait, I like this one, and then now I like this one too. And yeah, some albums or some songs take a few listens to really get into.
Yeah, so I was like, have I just listened to this so much that I think it's cool?
Right.
And other people are going to be like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But I mean, that's not what I'm doing it for anyway.
Yeah.
It's also really liberating if you're producing your own music to, how do I put this? I mean, I want a career in music. Like, there's no hiding that. I would love to do this as my, full-time living, just write songs, play shows. It's tough to do. But also, like, I've been letting go of that and just being like, I just want to make stuff and I want to enjoy the process and I want to make something I'm proud of. And that's like way more important. And I feel like I'm getting more authentic results and I'm making better music because I'm not just like, I need to have something to release every 6 to 8 weeks and I need to make enough content for it. And it's like, I don't know. I'm trying to find the balance between like business and art, which is obviously always going to be tough.
Yeah.
But
that's a huge lesson though, that I feel like you can know in your head, but there's something that happens when you feel it for real. Like, I don't know, it took 5 years of making music and having that kind of mindset of like, what are the best ways I can do this to like, you know, get engagement, blah, blah, blah. And then it's not like you're not enjoying the making of it, but I think there's like a freedom in realizing that the most fun and the best part of the entire process is literally just making it, and everything else doesn't matter as much. Like the newest song that I put out, I put the least amount of money into, I put the least amount of effort into visuals, the least amount of effort into marketing. I just dropped it and then I said, hey, this is out, and it did the best out of any song I've ever done. And I'm like, well, then what have I been doing for 5 years?
Oh my gosh.
You know, but that's freeing to know that you can just enjoy it, and like it doesn't matter what you put into the other stuff, unless it matters to you, of course. But if you feel like you're just doing it just to do it, maybe you don't have to.
And I've met some artists who like that's their favorite part is like the game of it, which is cool. Not my thing. Sometimes I wish it was my thing, but I can't stand it, honestly.
Yeah.
But I'm working on it. It's like a necessary evil if you want to have a sort of living from music, which is a weird thing anyway, but
yeah,
you know, worth a shot maybe.
Totally.
But right. The day job is important. I will say I've throughout college, I mean, I was most of the time working, and then right after college, multiple times I was like, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to gig full time. I'm just going to do music. And every time it was so miserable and I had no money. And I was like, and then the music sucks. Because like, you don't want to, so yeah. Like,
so much pressure around it.
And now. I thought I was like, as long as I'm only doing music, my life will be great. And I was like, actually, if I just work a job and have money to fund the music stuff, it's way better. Like, you know, so that took me a long time to like really, I mean, it was like a hard thing for me to accept, to be honest. I was just like, I have to do this. I want to be the guy so bad.
Yeah.
So it felt like, I don't know, it felt like growing up to be like, let me face the reality of this. And it's way better now.
Totally.
You know?
There's so much weird, like, mythology or, I don't know what the word is. Like, we really romanticize that struggle of being the musician who quits everything, or the artist who stops doing everything in order to focus on that one craft. And that's such a cool thing you said about, like, you know, I did that and it sucked because I had no money and I was stressed and the song suffered for it. And like, there is so much value to having, you know, a quote unquote separate life of doing work just for money's sake in order to comfortably enjoy making what you're making. And then maybe at some point you don't have to, but there's a weird, I feel like there's like a internal shame around that we have to work around, or at least for me.
No, yeah.
That took a long time to kind of figure out.
Yeah, I agree. Because you want to be the guy.
You want to be the guy.
Everybody wants to be the guy.
Yeah, it's so true, dude. But yeah, you don't have to. You can just enjoy doing it for doing its sake.
Yeah. Amen.
Zach Butler, we're going to take this over to the last 5, where you're just going to pick 5 questions out of this bowl here, this magical bowl. Give it a little zhuzh here. And after these 5 questions, we'll be done. Oh. Here you go.
It's like a rapid fire kind of
thing? It doesn't have to be rapid fire,
okay.
So yeah, we can take our time with the answers.
So we got least favorite song, album from your favorite artist. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
I'm trying to think who my favorite artist is. There's too many options.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can pick a couple.
Oh gosh. You know what? Let me think on this.
Okay,
yeah. Some other ones because that's
we'll marinate on it.
That's gonna take me a second. Oh, actually, you know what? I have an answer.
Yeah.
I think I've talked about John Mayer a lot. And I was a big fan until he released Sob Rock. And I might
Sob
get
Rock.
hate for that. Yeah, it was like 80s rock
Yeah.
themed, and
Is that the one with
Last Train Home.
Huh?
Last Train Home is like the big single off of that.
Oh, what was the one with the weird music video? The very like
Oh, that was New Light, I think.
New Light.
That was like a single. I think that's on that one.
okay.
But I just like 80s rock, and like that whole thing is just not my taste at all. And so when he went that way, I was like, not my thing.
Yeah.
It's cool. But yeah, really, I've liked everything else he's done, and I was like, and that's kind of when I stopped listening as much.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's good. Maybe Sob Rock opened up my taste, because I was like, I'm leaving John Mayer.
Yeah,
and listen
shout
to
out
other
to John
stuff.
Mayer for severing the cord.
For making, he just had to make something I didn't like. Who do people often say you sound like? I get a few different things. I used to get Rex Orange County a lot, which I was kind of surprised by, but people said my voice sounded like him.
Interesting.
Last night, someone told me I sounded like Neil Young, which
cool.
was a huge compliment. I was like, wow, thank you. I liked Rex Orange County a lot, too. So that used to be, I used to love getting that comparison.
I used to be really into him, man. Back in like
me too.
2018, 2019. Off of the Sunflower, and I forgot what the other one was. That was really big.
That was around the time I first started writing songs, too. And I remember trying to write stuff like him. Like, in the early, like, days of my writing, I was, like, really trying to emulate Rex Orange County. And I was doing a bunch of, like, all major 7 chords. And like, that's just what I was trying to do.
Don't call me out, bro.
I mean, but it sounded cool. But,
yeah.
And then, I don't know, I do get the Mayer comparison a lot still, which makes sense. I mean, I have listened to a lot of his music, so I'm sure. I'm trying to separate myself from that. Those are probably the
big 3.
Last night, actually, someone was like, I hear a little bit of Nick Drake. That made my heart, that made me so happy.
Yeah, I bet.
So I loved that. I didn't even know. I was like, we didn't play anything in the set that sounded like that, but cool. Like, I don't know.
Cool.
I was like, I don't know which one you're referring to, but that makes me feel good.
That's like a real heads comparison right there.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I feel like you're more of a resident Neil Young fan than I, and I would like to be more into him. So if you have any suggestions for a place to start, I've listened to a little bit of After the Gold Rush, and I enjoy it, but some guys like him or Bob Dylan or other people around that time period, I don't quite know where to start, especially if they have a big discography.
Yeah. I'm actually, Neil Young is something I've recently been getting into.
Okay.
I've been kind of putting it off. But just the other week, I listened to Harvest front to back, that album. I thought it was really good. There's some good tracks on that. So, I mean, maybe just... Because that's got Old Man and Heart of Gold, which are like 2 of his biggest songs.
Does
there's
it
some
have
other
Harvest
good...
Moon on there?
It does not, actually. Which is really funny. And it's funny, I thought the album was called Harvest Moon, and I was like, it's the title track. That's on a different record.
Oh, funny.
Which is funny. That one's just called Harvest.
Okay.
Harvest Moon is great. I've been covering that at gigs for years. It's like one of the most beautiful songs.
It's a great song.
So I love that one. I don't even know what album that's on.
Okay. Cool.
So I that's something like, recently I've really been into like Tom Petty and Neil Young and going that, and John Prine. I'm a big John Prine fan.
Yeah. So he has kind of like, I don't want to say jokey songs, but he has like a very funny way of
I like the humor.
his lyrics.
I like the humor. There's a song called Illegal Smile. Which you should
Smile.
check out. Yeah.
Okay,
it's about doing drugs, I think. That's pretty funny.
That is funny already. Cool. So Harvest, Neil Young. I'll check that one out. All right. Question number 3 here.
Question number 3. Best live show you've seen. Wow. I'm going to say, I actually haven't been to a lot of concerts in the past several years because I've just been like playing a lot. I'm playing in a few different bands right now, and we're just really busy on the weekends. But I'm actually going to say Macon Music Review, which happens every Wednesday night at Grant's Lounge in Macon. And it's just this like, they're like the best players in town, man. And they're all really good. And I have only been once. And after the show, I said, I'm coming here every Wednesday.
Right.
But it starts at like 9 o'clock. So
Okay, a little late.
I'm a I'm a homebody.
Yeah.
But man, actually, that was incredible. I don't think they have any recorded stuff. But if you're ever in Macon on a Wednesday night, it's actually like, I'll go with you. It's so fun.
Okay.
Like, they're all like really, really talented. It's Dustin McCook on guitar, Ethan Hamlin on keys. I don't even know the whole band.
Are they playing covers or are they?
It's a lot of like historic, like Macon stuff.
Okay.
So like, there's a lot of music history there with like the Allman Brothers
Sure.
and Otis Redding and Little Richard and stuff. So there's a lot of that, and it's mostly covers. I wish I knew more about them, but I remember going to that show and being like actually blown away. And it's cool because like I'm in this small like maybe 300 cap club, and I'm like, this might be the best show I've seen. To be honest, it was like really good. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any. I haven't really been to like a large concert or like a reputable named artist concert in a long time. I saw Stephen Day at Vinyl a few years ago.
Yeah.
His band, super tight. I had a really good time at that show as well.
Nice.
I tend to go to like smaller stuff if I'm going out to see music.
Yeah, that's cool.
They're really good too. So
I've listened to a little bit of Stephen Day. He put out an album like a year or two ago that I liked.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. He's super good.
So Stephen Day and
Making music
Review.
review, which I don't know if they have recorded music, but
yeah.
hopefully they do sometime because like, man, they're really good. And they opened up for St. Paul and the Broken Bones here in Atlanta. And I don't really know how that happened. I don't know much about that gig, but I remember like I saw them. I was like, that was awesome. And then like a few weeks later, I'm on Instagram. I'm like, dang. Okay, so like they're like
huge. Yeah,
they seem to be doing some cool stuff. So
yeah, St. Paul is great. I saw them at not the Fox Theater, but it was the Fox Theater, but they have like a separate room. It's like the Egyptian ballroom.
Oh, cool.
So it's a little smaller, and they crushed it. They ended with "Try Little Tenderness." That was insane. Their singer is crazy. It's like you're going to church.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, sweet.
All right, question number 4.
What'd we get? Dream 3-band bill. Is this like all bands all time? Or what is this? Or is this like realistic and reasonable? Or?
I think, I usually try to say like, people who are around now just to narrow in.
Yes.
But if you're able to, do more of a people who are around, are dead, you can do that as well.
Well, maybe I'll do both or something. I don't know. Yeah. Dream 3-band set for me with like current acts that I really like. I'm assuming is this like a show I'm playing or a show I'm attending as well?
Can be either or. Usually I think attending, but if you
okay.
you could sneak in a fourth act, you could be
me.
The separate right.
I don't know. Right now, if I could see 3 bands together, which this would never happen, would be Pine Grove.
Okay.
Watch House.
Don't know Watch House.
They're like in a sort of a bluegrass folky thing. They used to be called Mandolin Orange. Now they're Watch House. And then Crunbin. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Crunbin.
I think that's right.
That would be sick.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like people now. Those are like 3 of my favorite bands right now.
Nice.
I'm not gonna try to do. There's too many acts.
Yeah, it gets a little tough. That's why
now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, there are like so many. I couldn't pick.
Yeah.
But in terms of right now, yeah. If I saw a show with Pine Grove, Watch House, and Crunbin, that'd make my life
pretty crazy. I'll have to check out Watch House.
They're all so different, so that would be so weird.
Yeah.
But I would be really happy.
I saw Toro y Moi open for Khruangbin in Asheville.
Oh, cool.
It was like on a whim. Didn't even know that they were going to play. And it was like the day after this Toro album came out. And I was like, I'm down. Let's go.
Yeah.
And it was sick. And I'd never really gotten into Khruangbin. And, to be honest, not really quite my thing. But the show was cool. The show was really fun.
Yeah.
They put on a great show.
I was supposed to see them last year. Or I think I don't know. But it was Hurricane Helene actually ended up canceling the show.
Damn.
So I don't know. I can't remember now if that was early this year or late last year. I think
it was late last year.
Yeah, but that was so sad. But maybe I'll go another time.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to see them at Fox actually. I was like, man, it's gonna be crazy.
Damn.
Maybe they'll come back. And I'll have to go.
That'd be great.
Yeah. I did. I've told the story a few times, but I had a friend who went to go see them, And if you don't know about Krungbin, I mean, it's just like groove music, and the drummer is just a metronome. I mean, and he's just like so on the grid. And he was like, it was really cool, but like after like the third song, I was like, okay, it's kind of the same thing all night. And I was like, that's fair. But
Yeah.
I would love to go see the same thing all night from those three people. And they're kind of blowing up now too, which is cool. I've been into them for a little while now. And then I think they were at the Grammys, and I was like, oh my gosh,
You're like, that's
Krungbin
sick.
at the Grammys. Dawes played at the Grammys too.
Oh, whoa. Recently?
Which, yes, this most recent Grammys. It's
Whoa.
because there's those fires in California.
Oh.
Their whole studio burned down, in their house or
That
whatever.
sucks.
So the band Dawes, and so
You like Blake Mills?
I do love Blake
Yeah.
Mills. So yeah,
Yeah. That just occurred to me. I'm like, oh, I bet you really dig Blake Mills. He's sick.
I think that they got on there as they were like doing a sort of benefit, I think. And I don't really know much about it, but it was cool for them to like share their story about it. But
That's awesome.
really, I mean, heartbreaking, but
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, let's do the last question and wrap this up. Number 5.
Song you wish you wrote. There's a lot. Song I wish I wrote. Oh. Do you know who the Wood Brothers are?
I feel like I've heard the name.
I'm a big fan of the Wood Brothers.
Okay.
Oh, they're so good. And it'd definitely be one of their songs. I'm trying to think of like, yeah, there's this song called Postcards from Hell by the Wood Brothers. And it's this whole story, and it's about this guy, and he's like a wonderful musician, but he's like broke. But he's like, he keeps a letter in the pocket of his coat or whatever. And they ask him about it, and he says, I don't read postcards from hell. And it's just really cool. And I love that song. I'd probably say that one.
Okay. Postcards from Hell.
I would definitely recommend checking out the Wood Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's 3 guys. The lead singer is playing guitar and singing. Bass player is normally on upright bass, also playing harmonica and singing harmonies.
Whoa.
The drummer is singing, playing drums and keys at the same time. So it's only 3 guys, but when you see them live, it's like a huge sound.
Wow.
It's like really cool. So big fan of them.
Interesting. I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
Watch a live video.
Yeah, you should. It's a cool vibe. So Postcards from Hell.
Sweet. All right. Well, Zach Butler, thank you for joining me. On that
Man,
note,
thanks for
everybody
having me,
needs to
dude.
go check out All Shall Be Well.
Yes, sir.
And if you have any gigs coming up, you can plug them here. If not, no worries.
Yeah, well, I'll be in Atlanta on June 28th at Eddie's Attic.
Cool.
We're opening for Hunter Callahan.
Cool.
I've been wanting to play Eddie's Attic my whole life, and I've played that open mic like 12 times.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited to be. That's like my favorite venue in Atlanta. So
It's great.
that's
Great
the one
room.
I want to bring up. So
Cool.
if you're
June
in town-
28th.
Yeah. Come on.
Come show some love. All right, Zach. Thanks for coming on, man. I'll see you around.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
On that note, with Parker Whirling.